So the Premier making a statement yesterday about Saskatchewan emerging as an energy power, and the Premier had a few thoughts on what's been going on in the U.S. administration's treatment of Canadian energy policy. Premier Brad Wall now. Premier, thanks for taking our call.
Morning, John.
Walk me through what you wanted the PNWER delegates to know about Saskatchewan.
Well, first of all, by way of context, John, PNWER is a very important group. They've demonstrated success in terms of bringing together interests on both sides of the border. It's not just an organization that just meets annually at one of its locations, and it's why when we were in opposition, we wanted Saskatchewan to be a part of it. Obviously, the Pacific Northwest is very important to Saskatchewan in terms of, well, frankly, it's our access to the world for potash and for agricultural products. This organization is actually, I got some work done in terms of improving efficiencies at the borders while not sacrificing any security along the PNWER border there. And I'm just real pleased that they've chosen Saskatoon to host the convention and that we're a part of it. My message yesterday was, the fact that our region has a lot to offer a world that wants energy security and food security. And we also have a lot to offer our respective countries. Two countries, the United States and Canada, really need to tend to and be stewards of the relationship, which I think is at a bit of a low ebb right now because of decisions we've seen stateside, whether it was Keystone or a head tax at the airport or there was delays at the Detroit Bridge. There's been a number of issues where the Obama administration and certain interests, significantly environmental interests, I think have put a strain on the relationship. So I think we need to use our leverage as subnationals or states and provinces within Canada and the United States to be a constructive force for the relationship and also to do a little myth busting, especially when it comes to Canadian oil and energy. And some of the debate we've heard down there by great scientific minds like Daryl Hannah and Robert Redford simply need to be corrected for the public record. And I wanted to do a little bit of that as well.
Premier Brad Wall, what do you think the uptake is? I mean, are you talking to the converted when you talk to a meeting like this one?
I'm not sure. It's a big group. We have over 500 delegates there, and a lot of them from the United States. And I mean, there's other observers. So the Wall Street Journal was there. It was interviewed by that paper afterwards, and they wanted to clarify some of the things that I said in my speech, hopefully for reportage, hopefully for a story that gets to a wider audience, because, I think we do have some work to do. We have, my message was we have interest in the United States depicting our oil as dirty oil, and that impacts Saskatchewan, even though we don't have oil sands, because it's energy, it's Canadian exports that are being branded in a negative way, in a baseless way, frankly, in terms of the actual facts of the matter. We are able to indicate that when you compare even oil sands oil, which we don't have in Saskatchewan, to, for example, North California heavy thermal oil, the CO2 footprint is relatively the same from a life cycle comparison. They also call, some interest in the U.S. call our energy extreme energy, and I made the point that extreme energy to me is when you have to send soldiers to secure it in parts of the world that just don't like you. That's extreme energy. And so those are the kinds of messages I think we need to continue to get out.
Premier Brad Wall with us. Okay, now to the big story of the day. Not saying PNWER wasn't big, but stadium's way bigger. Okay, you make the announcement, $278 million stadium, if all is on track, 33,000 seat, open air, construction to begin next year, a spectator roof, so every seat is covered by a canopy like the west side of Mosaic now, roof ready, whatever that means, $80 million from your government, also your government to provide the financing of the $100 million to be repaid by the seat tax. What is the response you're getting on this?
Well, we're not providing the financing. The loan's going to be a commercial loan, John, as you know, paid back. But we are, it's an important distinction. We're certainly providing the loans. We have access to beneficial rates, but it's paid back at the commercial rate from that corporation that'll be set up to operate the facility. We're also not going to be operating or responsible for any cost overruns. And, John, I think I'm saying for quite some time that the status quo is not on. I mean, the stadium is in need of something, and the option of renovations were canvassed, have been over the years, and anyone who's climbed those stairs, those concrete stairs, really on either side, and had a look at the concourse and the facilities would know that renovation would be difficult, if not impossible. And the price tag of $150 million, I think, had everybody looking at a new option. We looked at a covered project when the federal government said they were out, I think both sides, and significantly the city of Regina, just sort of went back to the drawing board and started to look at another proposal. Here is one that I think is fiscally responsible. The government of Saskatchewan is in for roughly 30% in terms of a grant. This is almost the exact level that of funding, of grant funding, that the province has provided to other sporting facilities, whether it's in Estevan, whether it's in Moose Jaw, whether it's in smaller communities for smaller rinks or sporting facilities. Now, granted, it's a larger overall number because the stadium is that much of a bigger project than even Mosaic Place now in Moose Jaw, a very large arena that received a lot of government support. So we have a grant in place now for the project to be paid out over 4 years. We think it is responsible. It gets us to really a world-class stadium, much like people would have seen if they were watching the Euro Cup here recently in Europe. So I think it's the right balance. We have the riders involved in a big way, and when the riders are involved, they represent the private sector significantly. They've already been saving through a levy fee on tickets or a facility fee on tickets for the last while. That'll increase a little bit, but we have the users paying. We have the private sector involved in the city of Regina, and then our partnership.
What does roof ready mean on this?
Roof ready, John, means that there's no impediments to building a roof at some point down the road. No structural impediments.
So from an engineering, design, architecture feature, you would have to require then that it be capable of supporting a roof.
Correct. We're going to be asking, well, it won't be us, it'll be the City of Regina, the group that's driving the design of the process, to make sure that the facility can receive a roof, that there's no design impediments. And I've heard some of the debate. It's an interesting debate because you really got three camps on the stadium, and it's a healthy discussion to have now in the wake of the announcement. You have those who are opposed to anything new for the stadium, any renovation even, any dollars going into that. Then you have those who do think we have to do something and would like us to, build an open air, think that football should be played outside and like the open air concept. And then those who are saying, well, we should put a roof on it. And I think that option is going to be there down the road. It is significantly more costly. It's just more costly. And without the federal government or other major partners, it would have had to have come from a grant or more taxpayer involvement. And I think all the partners just made the decision that, look, without a partner, that's just not possible at this point, but maybe down the road. So let's not get in the way of ourselves in the future, putting a roof on the stadium.
Premier Brad Wall with us. Before I let you go, Premier, what do you say to some of the criticism that the process has not been transparent?
Well, we've talked about this for a very long time, for years now in Saskatchewan, and I was even asked prior to the last election where we were at after we knew we weren't going to be building the Dome facility because the federal government wasn't interested. I've said all along that the status quo wasn't an option, and therefore the options were renovate or build new, and under the build new category, it was open air or domed. I think there has been a lot of discussion on the stadium. When we provided a 30% grant to a number of other major sporting facilities around the province, it just happened as a matter of course because that's been the provincial involvement. There wasn't necessarily widespread debate or consultation. It's part of what government does. So, I think there has been some discussion. And we have now a fiscally responsible plan to build a state-of-the-art facility that'll be about more than the riders. And I know there'll be many other infrastructure projects that municipalities have that aren't related to sports, and we're working on those as well.
And there will still be money for school teachers, cancer workers, and healthcare.
Yeah, this is an interesting argument that I've heard, and we heard even when we were discussing the previous iterations of the stadium, which is, well, why are we spending money on that when there's still roads to be fixed and healthcare facilities to be built? If we waited until all the roads were paved, until every school, every hospital that needed work had all the work, of course, there wouldn't be any government support for any of the arts. There wouldn't be government support for any of these other sporting facilities that have been built in part with government grants. There wouldn't be money for a stadium. So it's always a balance. We're seeking in the Saskatchewan Advantage, John, to offer a quality of life that's second to none. And that means good health care and good education and good roads. It also means the other part in terms of quality of life, and it means economic strength. And we think this is the balance that we're striking in Saskatchewan.
Premier, good having you by this morning. Thank you for this.
Thanks, John.
Premier Brad Wall joining us for an update on his take on the provincial participation in this stadium.